Hello everyone, I hope you're having a great day. Today we're going to be working with some neon acrylics that I have never worked with before on this black background that I've just done a colored pencil sketch on. So I'm only using a couple of colors today. I'm using a neon blue, a neon rose, which is kind of like a coral, and then a neon yellow, and I picked the warmest of the three shades. There's two other yellows. They're a bit more on the green side. I went more for the orange tone. And then you're also going to need some brushes, obviously. I just grabbed a handful of some smaller brushes. You may want a little bit of a thicker flat one like this for your outline. And then, of course, a really fine brush for the thin lines, and something a little bit bigger for doing a wash. I also used a couple cut up pieces of a kitchen sponge. I didn't end up liking it that much. I would have liked a smoother sponge. I also, at the end, added in these acrylic art inks. These are from that same brand, Essentials from Walmart, and you can see they're just really pigmented, kind of thin, liquidy, not quite paint. Alright, so getting right into it here, I forgot to mention I actually painted my canvas with Mars Black and just let it dry before I started painting on it. And then I'm just using Liquitex Basics White to paint the highlights and the underline here. Oops, so I messed up a little right there, but that's why I love acrylics. You can just grab a paper towel and just rub it right off if it's still wet. Now that I have the basic outline, I'm just really thickening up that white line, and this is going to be the underlayer for what will look kind of like a neon sign. Here I'm just really touching up that white line. I'm going in with some of that Mars Black and just cleaning up my lines. Oop, I almost forgot that back line there. And now I'm just grabbing some of that yellow and really outlining this whole white area, making it about as thick as I can, but also blending out the edges. Obviously it's not super opaque because it's over black. I'm also just doing a bit of a yellow wash around the body to fade the yellow out. And here I grabbed just like a craft sponge, and I really didn't like the way that that was turning out, so I ended up using the pieces of kitchen sponge that I cut out and just really going ham and really blending that yellow out into the background. I used a couple of different pieces of sponge for this so that I could have a light yellow, a mid-tone, and then also black to help blend in the edges. Ironically, this little speck was driving me nuts, and then later I decided to splatter paint the whole thing, so it didn't even matter. Now I'm just building up that color, and then I'll be using a cleaner sponge to blend it out. And you don't want to use too much water when you do this or you'll get some patchiness, which you'll see later on, but you need a little bit to get that smooth gradient. If a smooth gradient is what you're after. I kind of like the look of this stylized sponge, but it just wasn't what I was going for this painting. I'm just adding more and more yellow until I'm happy. That may be just a little too much, so I'm going to go back in with some black and tone down the edges. On that right shoulder, you can see where I used too much water and I have a hard time covering that spot back up. So I'm just going to let that dry, and then I'm going to go back in with that white and redo my outline so that it's nice and bright again. For some reason I got ahead of myself here and started outlining that white with yellow before I finished the rest of the white. And now we're gonna finish the white outline. Now it's time to outline all of that white in yellow. Now you're really starting to see that neon sign look come through. So I just wasn't quite happy with how much of my white faded out, so I just went in one more time and re-highlighted again, but I didn't use a pure white. I mixed some of the yellow in with the white, and I also went right on top without letting it dry, so it kind of blended together a little more. At some point between cuts, I also sponged a little bit of that pink, the neon rose, into the corners. And now here I'm just doing a little bit of splatter painting and a little smudging with my finger. Then I decided that I wanted to add something else to the painting, so I just started on adding some random shapes, and I wasn't really sure which direction I was going to go, but I decided to make them kind of like more neon lights. And I decided to just go in with some more yellow because I still wasn't satisfied with the body outline. As you can see, I'm just really thickening up that outline. So going back over to this little square, I'm just going to be doing the same method where I really just keep layering up the paint until I get the vibrancy that I want. And don't forget to also paint out over the black areas around it. That's how you get the illusion of a light wash. So I'm just adding in another line over here. Like I said, I really had no plan going into this. I decided to also make my signature kind of that same neon look. Apparently I just couldn't get enough of the yellow, so I'm going back in with more yellow, making sure that it's super vibrant. I just added a bit of pink over onto the body to see kind of the play of the colors together, like if the lights were reflecting off of each other, but you'll see me do a lot more of this later. You really want to saturate those dark areas in color too, to really get the color mixing between what would be two different light sources. So since I have, the bright neon yellow and then the bright pink, I mix up a little bit in between of an orange and just did a wash over that area. I'm also taking some of that yellowy orange and coating it back onto the pink. So here I'm just going in with a really light yellow, again highlighting that middle area. They say there's no rules in art, so do as many or as few layers as you feel like. So I decided to add just one more shape here, and this one is actually where I bring in the blue. So I've never used these paints before. I've really never used any neon paint, and I don't know that I've ever painted on a black background, so this was really something new for me. So here I decided to try a little bit of a different method where instead of doing a really clean white line, I made it a little bit messier to see if I could get more of a gradient underneath my color. Just doing some experimenting, and I also thought I was going to go a little bit more purple in the beginning. Oh, there's my kitty. And then I decided to actually take it in a bit more of a blue direction. So I'm just taking a really dark yellow that I've just mixed a lot of black into and just toning down some of the yellow that I painted earlier. And now this is my favorite part. I'm taking some of that bright pink and really blending those pink and yellow colors together. I decided I was going to make this circle up here more blue, but there is still just a drop of that neon rose in it just to tone it down a little bit. Just like the pink, I'm going to be taking some of the blue and yellow, mixing it together and creating those highlights. I'm just going to keep adding washes of the different colors until I get the look and the vibrancy that I want. So I just decided to give it a little bit of splatter paint. I used blue, the pink, and the yellow straight, and then I also mixed up an orange and a green. You can also just lightly tap the edge of the brush on the canvas if it's a little bit wet and get a softer dot. And this is actually where I went in. I mixed up some of that blue ink and some of the yellow ink and made a green instead of using the straight green. I don't know why. And I did a little bit of a dripping effect. That's me blowing on it right there. Sorry, the camera's all over the place. So here I couldn't really decide if I was done or not, and I just decided to add a couple more drops of the blue-green right there. And here is the final product. These are pictures outside, so you can kind of see it in real light. On the left, you can see more of the texture of the canvas. And on the right, you can see a little bit more of the color gradation over the black. I also took a couple of pictures inside, one with the flash on and one in the dark, so you can see kind of how vibrant it is, how much it almost glows in the dark on its own. And that's all for today, so until next time, remember that we're doing this for fun, so just relax and enjoy yourself.